Hello, this is a complication of the best Reddit stories and dilemmas. I hope you enjoy this video.
I found my unaliving note that I wrote years ago. The horrifying part is that I never actually wrote the note. I'm a pretty happy guy. I left state for college after high school, got a degree in psychology, and now work as a counselor for high school-aged kids. My little brother Mac is happily married with a 2-year-old son, which makes my mom turn her attention to me, heckling me about when I'll be able to give her more grandbabies. Life has been very good, but I've recently discovered something that may turn everything upside down. My dad needed help cleaning out the attic, something which he said hadn't been done since Reagan was in office. I agreed to help, but my brother wouldn't be joining us since he had work. I had only been in the attic a handful of times throughout my entire childhood, so being up there again felt surreal. Dust and cobwebs coated every box, chair, and trinket in sight. I almost had 2 heart attacks thanks to a couple of rats scurrying around, but my father and I managed to sort through a lot of things, figuring out what was needed and what we could throw away. While my dad took a break, going down to the kitchen for a drink with my mom, I continued to curiously scour the attic. That was when something colorful caught my eye. It was one of my old comic books, lying unceremoniously on an end chair in the corner. I picked it up, waves of nostalgia surging through me as I admired the front cover, which depicted my favorite superhero, the Hulk, raising a car over his head, his teeth clenched. It had to have been almost 15 years since I had last seen that book. I was surprised at how good a condition it was in. The rats hadn't touched it. I flipped it open and began thumbing through the pages, enjoying a little piece of the past that had been forgotten. As I neared the middle of the book, however, a single sheet of white paper, folded horizontally, slipped out and drifted slowly to the floor, coming to land at my feet. I kept a finger on the last page I had stopped on, so as not to lose my place, and bent down to pick up the paper. Opening it, I began to read the message that had been written. I can't take it anymore. I wish that someone could understand what I'm going through, but no one ever will. Mom, I love you so much and I hate to do this to you, but it's the only option that I have. Dad, you did your best for me and Mac, but still, I have to go. By the time you read this I know that it will be done. Don't tell my friends the truth about what happened. Don't bury me, either. I don't want to be worm food. Mac, you were the best brother in the world and just know that this is not your fault. I'll be singing with the angels and watching over all of you from now on. Darby. I stared at the note for a long time after I finished reading. I read it again and again, not knowing whether or not this was a joke. If it was, then it was cruel and I didn't think that anyone I knew was capable of doing such a thing. I stared harder at the words. My heartbeat hammered against my ribcage as I pondered the possibility of the note being legit. The handwriting was very similar to my own and written in orange ink, my favorite color pen to use when I would write in my journal or when I would write stories when I was younger. My head was spinning. Could it be possible that I had written this and simply suppressed the memory? I couldn't recall any negative experiences that could have made me consider killing myself, and I was sure that seeing something like this would bring such experiences to come back to me. But they didn't come. Darbs? I jumped, spinning around and hiding the note instinctively behind my back. My dad was standing near the entry to the attic, a confused look on his face. Everything okay? Yeah, Dad, I'm fine, thank you. Just, a little thirsty. I guess I should have taken my break too. You mind grabbing me a glass of water? 1 glass of water, coming right up. He replied, but as he descended the stairs, I could see him watching me closely. As soon as he was out of sight I folded the note into a square and stuffed it in my pocket. I waited until I finished my water before telling my dad I needed to get some errands done, and that I would help him finish the attic another time. I went home and immediately tried comparing the handwriting in the note to my own. My current handwriting was a lot neater, but I could totally imagine myself as a teenager or preteen writing the way the message was written. Then again, if someone had been trying to copy my writing style, then that would explain the slight differences. After a couple hours of questioning my childhood I decided to sleep on it. Maybe I would call my brother and ask him if he remembered anything traumatic happening when we were younger. I lay in bed for hours, but just as I was about to drift off, I received a text message from my mother. You found it, didn't you?
Landlords, what is the stupidest reason you've had to evict someone? 1. Guy got evicted from university housing because he was using the fire sprinkler head as the endpoint of a clothesline. This broke the sprinkler head, flooded half my floor, 4th floor, and every apartment underneath down to the base level. 2. Had to evict someone for not using the shower curtain. They took a long shower and flooded their bathroom, which ran down and flooded the apartment below them. We lost the downstairs tenant as well. Plus insurance wouldn't cover the damages since it wasn't from a burst pipe or other plumbing issue. Then when they were evicted they asked for their damage deposit back. 3. They built a turtle habitat without permission in the basement. Heard this story secondhand from a friend who knows the tenant. They started a turtle breeding business, so they decided to flood the basement with maybe 6 inches of water. The entire basement. It was a concrete floor, but there was still drywall on the wall. Don't know how the landlord found out, or how long they had the habitat, but he kicked them out immediately. No notice. It was either leave now or he'd sue for damages. Next day they were out. 4. Not a landlord, but when I was living in a dorm there was a mysterious case of small plastic bags filled with poop appearing on a tree in front of the dorm building overnight. How did they get there? A foreign student seemed to have had some kind of toilet shyness and didn't want to use the shared dorm restrooms, so he did his business into small plastic bags. He then decided, instead of discarding those bags discreetly, to just throw the bags out of his window into the tree at night. This didn't go well with the facility management of the dorm and he lost his dorm room. 5. My landlord had to evict the 2 young men living in the basement apartment. They got into a habit of terrorizing the poor old lady living on the first floor. And they would also always turn the heat of the building up to 45 degrees. It was a huge fire hazard. Let's say we were happy they left. 6. Tenant left all the windows open on rainstorms apparently and didn't clean up water that blew in, and every single window in the house was rotted and had black mold. They asked for their deposit back. 7. Had a tenant who started gutting the apartment and selling off the appliances that came with it. 8. My sister used to have some duplexes she rented out. One tenant was several months late on payments and numerous times the tenant promised she was working on getting the money. My sister was being nice because the tenant was in a hard spot and recovering. One day she went by to visit and the tenant had a brand new tattoo sleeve all the way down her arm. When confronted about why the money wasn't used to pay rent, the tenant said they really wanted the tattoo. The eviction process started immediately.
Nobody in my family can look at my brother while he's eating. Today I took a peek and found out the horrifying reason we can't look. I never thought it was weird. It was the same as Dad going to work every day and Mom cooking dinner every night. Just, Maddie always ate upstairs. Mom made sure everyone at the table had a full serving before she got to work on Maddie's plate. She would load it with supersized portions of whatever was for dinner plus leftovers from last night. By the time it was ready, the mountain of food would put Dad's appetite to shame. The night after my 8th birthday, Mom's arm shook carrying Maddie's dinner. She teetered across the kitchen with a serving plate. The one we use for appetizers when we have guests, 3 hamburgers, 2 chicken breasts, egg salad, at least a half dozen corn dogs, and a pile of potatoes. Squeezed next to that were pork chops, meatballs, shrimp fried rice in a Tupperware, and a full mixing bowl of mac and cheese. Do you need help, honey? Mom shook her head, finding her balance on the stairs. Oh no, Mama's got it. Maddie's not feeling well today. Don't stuff him now. I turned to Dad. Frankly, I was in a bad mood. Maddie hadn't wished me a happy birthday yet. In fact, he hadn't come out of his room all day yesterday. He was 2 years older than me, and our sibling rivalry ran deep. Why does Maddie need that much food? What if I'm still hungry? Why doesn't he just come down and eat it here? He's a growing boy, you know. Puberty's hitting him. That's a time when every kid undergoes remarkable changes. You'll see. He ignored my other question, so I asked again. Dad put his fork down. Your brother is self-conscious. I know, we've told him it's silly. But we're respecting his decision, giving him time. And you should too. He's your big brother but he doesn't have one. What he's going through can be scary. I crossed my arms. Sounds like a big baby. Enough. His voice cut through me. He spoke through his teeth. Apologize. I mumbled under my breath. Excuse me? I'm sorry. Dad nodded. Mom came down a minute later and we finished our dinner in silence. In bed, I began to plot a nasty trick. The next day after the bus dropped me off, Mom told me she was going for groceries and to stay in the house in case Maddie needed anything. I went up to his room and knocked on the door. Maddie? There was no response. Some of my friends from school are coming over today. Do you want to play with us? Again, nothing. I made a face and started down the steps. He wasn't making this easy. Halfway down the stairs, there was a sound from behind his door. Maddie? Something dragged a short distance before stopping. I held my breath, straining to hear more. A few seconds passed before I hopped the rest of the way down, confused but eager for my friends to arrive. Mom was in the kitchen preparing dinner when Hunter and Cody got dropped off. They popped out of an SUV Hunter's mom drove and waved, running towards the house. We played for a little in the yard while I explained my plan. Cody looked like he couldn't wait. That doesn't sound nice, Hunter mumbled. Maddie's never nice to me. Remember my birthday party? He didn't even go on the bouncy house. Cody piped up, yay. We're not gonna hurt him, Hunter. A few more minutes was all it took to convince him. Then, dinner was ready. Mom tiptoed around the table, dispensing slices of brisket and spoonfuls of pasta with gravy and Italian bread. Cody and Hunter dug in immediately, in a few seconds vaporizing half their plate. I made sure to eat fast too but kept an eye on Mom. She always put a lot of care into Maddie's plate. After she was finished, up she went. When she returned to the kitchen, there was nothing on our plates. Wow, you boys are hungry. Not anymore, I said, patting my stomach. Careful, Dad laughed. If you eat like that you'll get sick. Humph, I crossed my arms and scooted off my chair. Come on guys, let's play in my room. Alright, just don't bother Maddie while he's eating. We hid our smiles. We made sure our footsteps could be heard from downstairs walking into my room and loudly closed the door. Then, tiptoeing, we crept out of my room, down the hallway, until we were in front of Maddie's door. I'm still hungry, Cody giggled through his hands. Shh. I knocked quietly. Hello? Maddie? Silence. Can I come in? Hunter began pointing insistently, back towards my room. I waved him off. Maddie, it's just me. My friends left. 10 seconds trudged by. Cody looked disappointed. Something hot began to well up in my chest. It wasn't anger, maybe jealousy? I put my hand on the doorknob. I got A's in all my classes and Mom and Dad would pat me on the head before mentioning how Maddie used to get A+S. Every day at school the teachers always asked, "How's Maddie doing?" I was the one who loved our dog, Archie. The one we had to give away because he never stopped barking at Maddie's door. He doesn't play sports, he doesn't have any friends, he doesn't even go to school. He never comes out of his room. He was a good-for-nothing older brother. No, it was hate. I hated Maddie. I pushed the door open. Immediately, a vile smell hit our nose, causing Hunter to gag. The curtains were drawn tight around the windows, casting a gloom over the mess inside. Broken toys, shredded notebooks, overturned chairs, and even some broken glass. A cooking program for children played on a small TV, its volume just loud enough to hear over a rickety desk fan. Who's ready to welcome our guests for this episode? The fan could only do so much, though. Remains of food stained everything in the room. You couldn't step anywhere to avoid the mold covering the floor. Bits of meat clung to the screen of the television, red sauce smeared the wall, and there was a large stain on the sheets of the bed. Hunter tapped my shoulder. "This is gross. I want to go back." "Your brother is nasty," Cody proclaimed. He stepped meticulously into the room, leaving Hunter and I by the door, using the toys like you would stones to cross a river. He jumped onto the bed and recoiled. "You, it's wet." "We should leave," Hunter begged. "And what's your name, sweetie?" the TV whispered. I searched the room with my eyes. It was my first time inside in years. I remember when me and Maddie used to be inseparable. I may have hated him, but it had been so long since I'd seen him. "I'm Emily." Cody bounced on a dry part of the bed, laughing. "So, where's the good food?" "Hold on," I said. "Maddie?" "Why, Emily? You look good enough to eat." It was just unfortunate when Maddie's accident happened. When I thought about it, I don't think I've actually seen him since that field trip. Mom and Dad would show me recent pictures and videos of him, but I can't tell if he looks older or not. It was partly my fault. I was distracted with all the gifts Mom and Dad got me afterward. They treated me with some of the money they got from the stem cell lab in court. Maddie's accident was all their fault, Mom and Dad said. Something shifted from the far side of the room. Cody's face lost its color. "Cody, let's go." When his feet hit the ground, a pale hand darted from beneath the bed. Cody tumbled to the floor, shrieking. "Help!" Cody squealed. There was a clattering from the kitchen and footsteps hurrying up the stairs. Hunter ran out of the room wailing. I was glued in place by a morbid fixation. The hand that was clamped tightly around Cody's ankle. Was that Maddie's? That thing, impossibly tall, clambering out from underneath the bed. That couldn't be my 10-year-old brother, right? I felt my dad's arm scoop me up and rush me into the hall. Before he shut the door, I could see Mom with her arms raised in front of a monster. It was holding Cody upside down. Its swollen belly dragged along the floor, as if it had swallowed a boulder. I blacked out. The reason I'm writing this is because I didn't remember Maddie until a few days ago. I'm in my 30s. For the past month my wife has encouraged me to go to a specialist due to night terrors that began last year. They had started infrequent, but recently it's been every other night that my cries disturb our sleep. I met with a woman who put me under some sort of hypnosis to help remember trauma. I woke up with those terrible memories. She told me the event could have been rejected from my memory naturally due to the severity of it. Or, another specialist had induced amnesia on me. I had even forgot about Hunter and Cody. I looked for them both on social media and was able to get in contact with Hunter. He wasn't very receptive at first, but he agreed to meet after hearing my situation. We sat at a bar. He gulped down his liquor before speaking. My memory is a bit funky too. I was in a mental hospital for a couple months. We moved and I learned how to push it away. The memory. In college I found out it was labeled a kidnapping. What do you mean? Cody never made it out of the house. That, I remember. Your parents did a damn good job. I don't know what hoops they jumped through or whose pockets they filled. He paid for his tab. Don't contact me again. On the way back to my car I tried calling my mom. She hasn't answered her phone all day. My dad passed away last year, but my mom still lives in my childhood home. I need to talk with her. In person. And maybe I'll burn that house down on my way out.
You are indestructible for 24 hours. You will face no consequences for your actions. What will you do with this power? For 24 hours you cannot be killed by anything. Top of the Everest, deepest part of the ocean, no protective gear in space, fall from the space station, nothing can harm you. You will feel no pain, your identity will not be known to anyone. You cannot be detained, trapped, enclosed in a physical space. Rules: you cannot steal anything that isn't yours. You won't have superhuman strength, but you can move extremely fast, through air and water. You can circle the Earth in a matter of minutes. You can enter any room that is locked, or unlocked, and nobody can touch you, remove you, or obstruct you from getting there and doing what you want. You can't use it to go launch a bunch of missiles and start a war. It's mostly for exploration purposes. You can't use this to physically harm people. For me personally, two things I would want to do is explore places that are out of bounds for public, like the Vatican Library, Area 51, if I can find it, as well as explore the bottom of the ocean, the middle of the Amazon. At the end of the 24 hours, you will return to your normal life. Nobody will know it was you, and you will retain all memories and knowledge that you have acquired during this. You are getting hunted around the globe by 100 people, and if you don't get caught in 24 hours, you will receive $100 million. 100 randomly selected people on the globe are selected to hunt you down within 24 hours. Your location is known by these people, however, it is not live. It is instead delayed by exactly 1 hour. These people, let's refer to them as hunters, cannot physically speak to anyone within these 24 hours. If a hunter catches you, the $100 million will be split between them $1 million each. You will also be given $100,000 to spend however you wish during these 24 hours. You may exceed this amount, but the difference will come out of your own pocket. All the hunters have to do is touch you within these 24 hours, and you will be caught. Once you are caught, you will instantly die. If you don't get caught, you will receive $100 million. So, what will you do to ensure you don't get caught?